Close your eyes for a moment, unless you're driving. Imagine a world 11,000 years ago. No cities, no writing, no metal tools. We've been told for centuries that our ancestors were just wandering hunters, struggling to survive the cold. But today, in February 2026, the soil of southeastern Turkey is screaming a different story. What if I told you that Karahantepe, the site that left the world in shock, was just one single node in a massive, ancient network? What if there wasn't just one temple, but 12? A coordinated system of stone hills spread across the horizon like a prehistoric mirror of the stars. Today, we aren't just talking about old rocks. We are talking about the Taştepeler project, the most significant archaeological investigation of our century. By the end of this episode, you will understand why everything you learned in history class was just a small piece of a much larger, much older puzzle. Welcome to the second chapter of our journey into the lost memory of mankind. In our last episode, we stood in the shadow of Karahantepe's human-headed pillars. But as 2026 excavation reports come in, we realize that Karahantepe was part of a brotherhood of sites. Archaeologists have identified 12 main mounds, including names you will soon see in every textbook: Sefertepe, Sayburç, Harbetsuvan, and Çakmaktepe. This wasn't a coincidence. This was a regional plan. Imagine the labor required, thousands of people moving across a 100-mile radius, working together with a shared vision. In an era where we thought humans only cared about their next meal, they were actually obsessed with something much higher. They were building a landscape of symbols. Each hill was strategically placed, and each hill served a different purpose in this vast 11,000-year-old network. Let's move our focus to a site called Sayburç. If Karahantepe is about the individual, Sayburç is about the story. Recently uncovered reliefs here have left experts speechless. We see a man carved in high relief, holding his own power, flanked by dangerous leopards and a roaring bull. This isn't just art, it's a narrative. It is a scene. For the first time in human history, we are seeing the birth of oral tradition captured in stone. These people were telling stories about heroism, about the relationship between man and the wild, and perhaps about their gods. When you listen to this, realize that you are hearing the echo of the world's first book. They weren't just building walls, they were building an archive for their descendants. They wanted to be remembered. And after 11,000 years of silence, we are finally starting to listen. One of the most mind-blowing facts about this 12-hill network is something that sounds like a paradox. We find these grand, monumental buildings, theaters of stone and pillars of giants, but we find almost no permanent houses, no kitchens, no trash heaps of daily life, no bedrooms. This leads to a revolutionary conclusion in 2026 archaeology. The Taştepeler were not cities. They were gathering hubs. People lived elsewhere, perhaps in smaller, temporary camps, but they converged on these 12 hills for massive, ritualistic events. Think of it as a prehistoric pilgrimage. People were traveling for days, crossing rivers and mountains to reach Karahantepe or Sayburç. Why? Because these places were the internet of their time. This was where news was shared, where marriages were arranged, and where the secret knowledge of the stars was passed down. It was a society held together not by a king or an army, but by a shared story. We live in 2026, an era of incredible technology, and we are using that technology to look through the earth. Ground-penetrating radar and LiDAR scans have recently revealed something haunting beneath the surface of the 12 hills. There is a sublayer. Beneath the floors of the structures we see today, there are older, even more mysterious chambers. The data shows a series of tunnels connecting different parts of the mounds. Some researchers are beginning to ask, was this a subterranean civilization? Or was the act of going underground a way to communicate with the spirits of the ancestors? And then there is the burial. As we discussed before, all 12 sites were intentionally filled in. But the 2026 scans show that the burial wasn't just dirt, it was a careful layering of specific stones and artifacts placed like offerings. It was a funeral for a city. They didn't just leave, they said goodbye. As we wrap up this 10-minute journey, take a moment to reflect. Why does a discovery in the dirt of Turkey matter to someone listening in their car or at home today? It matters because Karahantepe and the 12 hills prove that we have always been us. We have always been seekers, builders, and storytellers. We didn't evolve into being smart. We started that way. These people faced the same mysteries of life and death that we do today. They looked at the same stars and felt the same wonder. The history we are uncovering right now is a reminder of our true potential. If our ancestors could build the impossible with nothing but stone and spirit, what are we capable of today? Thank you for spending these 10 minutes with me. As the 2026 excavation season continues to pull more secrets from the shadows, I will be here to share them with you. Stay curious, stay grounded, and never stop questioning the story of our past. Until next time, keep looking at the horizon, because the giants are starting to wake up.